Now we're going to complete the experiment, and I'm going to add my teaspoon of sugar to the water, and I'm going to stir for 10 seconds. I'm just using a straw to stir. I've already recorded my prediction on my sheet of what I think is going to happen, my hypothesis. Okay, what I'm seeing is that the water looks blue. That doesn't really surprise me. And most of my sugar dissolved. There's a little bit left on the bottom, but most of it is dissolved. Remember, to dissolve means it kind of like disappears into the liquid. The liquid is the water here is the solvent. The sugar, the colored sugar, is the solute that's going to be dissolved, and it did dissolve. It's almost all gone. Look at that. It's pretty, there's just a few flakes left on the bottom. That's cool. All right, now I'm going to use a different straw for the alcohol. And again, I need a teaspoon of sugar, making it nice and flat, just like you would in Family Consumer Science. I'm going to add that to the alcohol. I'm going to stir for 10 seconds. You don't have to pick it up when you're doing it. I'm just doing it to show the camera a little bit better. All right, so now I'm noticing some observations here. It also changed the liquid blue, so the food coloring dissolved. But the sugar itself is not dissolved. Look at that. The sugar is white again. That's white sugar on the bottom. And the food coloring dissolved. So the solvent is alcohol. Sugar, maybe a little bit of it dissolved, but most of it did not dissolve, and it's just sitting on the bottom. But the liquid food coloring came out of the sugar and dissolved in the alcohol. Okay, now I'm going to get my third straw, clean utensil, and you don't have to use 3 different, you could just wash it in between. Okay, here I have my teaspoon of sugar. Now notice when I use my teaspoon of sugar, I just have a little bit of sugar left. I have a little bit of sugar left. So you're using up almost all your colored sugar. I'm going to place that into the oil. Ugh, it just globbed in there. And I'm going to stir this for 10 seconds. It smells weird because it's canola oil. Guys, my hair is terrible. I have it in a ponytail or a little bun thing at the back because it's so long. I cannot wait until the salons open up. All right. Ew, went into the straw. All right, so basically nothing happened other than I have a mess now. I have blue sugar on the bottom. None of the sugar dissolved. And I have the yellowish oil, on the top. And it almost looked like there's some blue on the top. Like maybe a tiny bit of blueness is floating on top, but most of the blue just stayed in the sugar. So basically nothing dissolved in the oil. No sugar dissolved and no food coloring dissolved. And it looks greenish because the blue and the yellow are kind of mingling together. All right, so water, everything dissolved. Tiny bit of sugar left on the bottom. Alcohol, some of the sugar dissolved, but most did not. The food coloring did dissolve. Oil, the sugar did not dissolve, the color did not dissolve. A little bit of the food coloring went to the top, but didn't dissolve. It's just a little rim is floating on top, but most of it just stayed in the sugar and sank to the bottom. You have to now make some claims about this. Remember we talked about Water is polar, oil is nonpolar, and guess what? Alcohol, it's partly polar and partly nonpolar. So, you know, sugar is only somewhat soluble in the alcohol. Sugar is very soluble in water, and sugar is definitely not soluble in oil because oil is polar, and oil can only dissolve other polar substances. All right, well, I hope you learned something from this. Finish your claim, evidence, and reasoning, and answer the questions on your sheet, and submit that in classroom. Have a great day, guys.